láyé olúgbọ́n mo ké borùn méje ẹ ò máa kọ yí lórin láyé àrẹ̀sà mo ké borùn mẹ́fà ẹ ò máa kọ yí lórin láyé ìsẹ̀yìn èmi ra kókò mo ra rán mo ra sányán bàbá sọ àfọ̀lẹ́ ló lè pélé.
Hello everyone, my name is Ademo Adigbemiga Ganil and I welcome you to my new Yoruba Abrahamic YouTube video. Today I want to touch on everything regarding to Judah, its African origin, particularly the Yorubas, and the setting of the Judah people across West Africa, their establishment, how the West Africa was actually mirrored in their own image in establishment, and everything surrounding it. I will touch on it in breakdown. But before we actually jump into this video, I need to thank each one of you for my last little live video which I did. Everyone who contributed to its support, comments, good remarks and stuff like that. May the Almighty continue to be with you all. And I really appreciate your encouragement here and there. Likewise, he also use this medium to also apologize for the video quality. The video was, people complained to me that the video was actually slanted, and this is not my fault, and it's also my fault too, but I promise I will just do better. I can only improve at this time. So let's quickly jump into the real deal. The name Judah, or the term Judah, and many other Abrahamic terms too, the names, location, and many related to our Abrahamic identity aren't foreign. That is what people need to know. They are African name or by origin. Just as we know today, the Abrahamic characters and many other Abrahamic figure or in the context has been whiteified. Like in the case of the characteristics of ancient locations in Africa, which actually basically referring to the Judah occurrences, has been fraudulently re-established in new colonies outside Africa, particularly across today's Middle East, which is part of the Northeast Africa. The name of these characters as well has been equally westernly edified to sound more phonetic in sound in favor of the Eurocentric and paled Arab view of lands, until the name has completely lost its African originality by default. So as a matter of fact, each African-related or Abrahamic-related names which the people know of today, or the factors of the are mere descriptive title or nickname that does not really identify with the known ideal birth name of this Orisha. It's like you call me Benga, like I keep saying in my video, my name is Benga, but in the outside world they call me the talker. It's harder for you to, because anybody can be a talker. There are so many YouTubers, but my real name is Benga. That is exactly what happened, why it has been very difficult for the African people, particularly the Yoruba people, to actually relate with different prophets as their Orisha in Yoruba land. Because in Yoruba, you know them by their real name. In the foreign world, they are being described by their character names, nicknames or title. For an instance, let me use the common one which I used in my previous video, the set man known as Solomon. From reality, there is nothing like Solomon or Sulaiman by default. The actual name which first came out from the Hebrew tongue, because Hebrew text came before the Arabic text. Likewise, why Christianity or Messianic religion came before Islam. So we'll pick it from the grounded foundation. When we are talking about Solomon, the real word for it is Solomon, S-H-L-O-M-O. And this Solomon is actually a derivative word from the Yoruba phonetic word of Oshole Onimo, a descriptive word of an unknown man, but based on the description, his legacy, his character. For a conversant historian who know both sides, Yoruba history and the Abrahamic text, it will be easier for him to know who Solomon is naturally. Solomon, the word Solomon was actually derived from Osho. Osho in Yoruba is a wizard, a mysterious being, a wizardous being who can do unthinkable. And likewise, Ile. Ile also means the ground or the head in a general term. And when we talk about Imo, Imo means wisdom power, knowledge, and something you can tell that can make one to be actually greater. So generally, this basically resulted to why Solomon was actually described as a character figure in the Abrahamic text, a man who can do an unthinkable, a wizardous being who has a staff of magic that can be likened to the witch's wand in movie like those Harry Potter, who has a staff of magic, who can disappear and reappear, can decide how the wind should blow, control winds, communicate with different animals, control and have authority over spirits, demons, and every liking them, and can do everything which all the normal witches can do in 100 times fold, like just even though he was actually divine. The staff, which so is actually easier for people, these are descriptive name of this figure. If we now take all this description as a whole, compare it with an Orisha, it's so obvious that this same person they are talking about is actually the same person as Alaafin Oromiyan. Anyone who is conversant with the story of Oromiyan would know that Oromiyan himself, mere looking at it, if you have a chance to see Oromiyan based on his Yoruba description, you will know by mere looking at that this guy is a wizard. He's not just a random human being. Very wizardous. The staff which he uses as an Orisha, a divine call, a divine being from heaven. The staff which is one which the Yoruba still refer to as Oromiyan, the staff of Oromiyan, which the European thought as magic staff. The Oromiyan, though he's still at Ile Ife today, but they said the staff is now becoming bigger and bigger. This is why it now looks taller like a tree. But Oromiyan himself is very tall as a beam. He has one black half is one of his body is half black, the other one is half white, and that is how he was given birth to, because he wasn't actually a human being. He controls wind, he controls jinn, he controls everything. He conquered land, and he was far a greater Yoruba down decorated Orisha or a prophet than most people. So in a nutshell, all Abrahamic names and land or tribes are random descriptive names in Abrahamic context and reference that were used to reference to a subject or a particular character. And this same understanding can now be applied to the time of Judah, which we are about to talk about now. So after an extensive study, the reality of what Judah basically means from the indigenous view of it in Yoruba land is quite different to how the Bible describes it in breakdown. Let's start from the political reference to Judah. It's no more a new thing or a debatable argument anymore that Judah's kingdom isn't talking about the Yoruba's empire across West Africa, particularly from Ile Ife and Oyo, which Oromiyan or from Ile Ife, that was one ruled by King David, better known as Dawoli Odu, because Dawoli Odu or Dawudu is actually also David's reference to how he was so upset with oracle guidance. Likewise, how the Bible also said David and oracle were like 5 and 6. They always seek for guidance from the Almighty now and then, and he carries the oracle wherever he goes. So Dawoli Odu is a reference, is an attribute to how he is a fan of the oracle, alongside his sibling kingdoms across West Africa, as across today's southwest of Nigeria, south, and part of Middle Belt. Likewise, in extension to the West African majority colony down to today's Sierra Leone. As far back as the 1774, the 1840, and generally from the 16th century map upwards, Judah's kingdom is well cited as today's Dahomey, which also happens to be the sub-kingdom extension empire of King David or Oduduwa Empire that actually stretches and that were dominated by the Yoruba people, whose utmost loyalty or royalty still lies till this very day at Ile Ife by authority, and whose generational grandseed or seed still occupy the entire location. So Oduduwa, better known as King David, did rule the world as it was ascertained by the Quran, and that is for a fact. Oduduwa's son, who is Oduduwa's son, better known as the last son Oromiyan, or better known as Solomon or Osholeimo, also did founded Oyo, and ruled further bigger than his father's authority. That is for a fact. It was your civilization that brought the Yoruba people into the world global map, because your civilization or empire expansion is being underreported today. Oromia went as far as conquering land from today outside West Africa. That is for a fact. In my book, I refer to how Oromia empire surpasses Egypt, because I have to be giving back-to-back references that are verifiable. So King David's Solomon's kingdom naturally is bigger than Oduduwa, and that is the prayer of all praying, that their children should be more prosperous than them. So there is no big deal. So anyone among the Yoruba people who is fighting or who is claiming that Ife is the utmost king, Oromia is the king, Alaafin of Oyo should be the overall king, Yoruba people should understand that it is none of our business. It's the father and son thing. They will enter closed door, they will settle it. So Yoruba should stop making that as a big deal. And when you want what is your party, back on be one. So we should not bring that as a matter with the way Yoruba, and that shouldn't be a cause for division among Yoruba people today. It's a father-son thing. They will settle it later. And this is for clarity's sake. Oduduwa and all his sibling brothers were the one who comprises, who became their group identity was what we reference to as Judah. Okobi children, or Akobi or Akobi from the Bible, his children goes by Benjamin, which is the father of the Benin today. The father of the Naphtali, whose descendant of Naphtali are Nukwe or Tapa. The father of the Isacha, whose descendant as the Ishekiri. The father of the Levi, whose descendant as the TV. The father of the Gan and Dan, whose father as the Gadangbe. I stated everything, and if you carefully look at the generational tribes of these people, they occupy today's southwest, south, and part of West Africa, and they share virtually 100% similarity in terms of culture, in terms of belief. Even people like Igala, they share the same language, but they are not directly related to Ile Ife. I hope you get it. It's because Oduduwa is a sibling to their founder. They are the same, they came from the same founder. This is why people should stop saying that Oduduwa is the father of all Yoruba. That is what many people don't know. At Ile Ife, Ile Ife predated the coming of King David Oduduwa more than thousands of years. The king that ever ruled Ile Ife were about 93 to 97 kings that have ruled Ile Ife even before Oduduwa migrated somewhere. So people should stop relating Oduduwa as the beginning, as the root of the Yoruba people. Oduduwa is a kid, he's just a small boy. But the reality is that Oduduwa is the most decorated king in the Yoruba people's history. It was through Oduduwa that all the Yoruba ethnic who has continued to fight themselves were united. Oduduwa united them, fought till the day he died, trying to bring together all the Yoruba people from East Africa, all the Yoruba people from West Africa and from Central Africa who are scattered. It was Oduduwa that united them. Until today, Oni of Ife, which is better known as King David, is his heir, Ojaja. Likewise, in the case of Oyo Empire of Solomon, Oshole Onimo, which is Oromia, his heir today is Owuade. They are the direct descendant of David and King David. Therefore, those Yoruba who push for security among these people, they basically don't know anything. They should just stop it. Always promote peace. These are father-son things. You will never know when Owuade and Alaafin of Oyo on your Fife we enter close. We have a closed door meeting, and they will smile. And you people, you are causing yourself, causing unnecessary misunderstanding. So collectively, these people were Judah. Prior before even in 1900, before the late Ajayi Crowther gave them the identity of Yoruba as collectively under the unity of Oduduwa legacy. They were all Judah from the Abrahamic context. a word that was actually derived from Eje Odudua, which basically signifies the bloodline of Odudua. When we say Eje Odudua, Odudua is still referencing to the lineage. Like I said, Eje means my brother, my siblings, my sister, direct siblings. When we are saying Eje, it comprises the likes of those people who I said they are father of Southwest and Southwest ethnic group of people who are sons of Akobi, which Odudua also happens to be part of them. They are all together. Collectively, they are Judah, and they dwell in West Africa. And through Odudua, the seed of Odudua, Oba Alafin of Oyo, which is Solomon, Oba Egba, Oba Ijebu, all these people, they are direct. These are the ones they are calling the Sudan. Sudan was never a country. It's an extension of different seed that sprang out of Odudua. So this is another thing you guys also need to know. And we also like Yahodua. When we are talking about Yahodua, it remains this distant relative of Odudua. And collectively, these people are known as the Hebrew, Ebi àti Ara àwọn Ewe. Relative, distant relative, collective relative people that are all related from Odudua, from non people, they are all related to the Ewe. Ewe is actually identifying with the Ife people. I hope I'm making sense. So collectively as Yoruba lineage and sub-lineage, with or outside today's Nigeria, they are all Molebi or Ebi àti Ara Ewe, which from the term Hebrew people through King David that once ruled Ile Ife. So the Yoruba lineage collectively, the earlier started from Ile Ife at the beginning of time. And as humanity continues to grow in population, substantial group of them left Ile Ife to re-establish themselves outside West Africa. Outside West Africa and within West Africa and outside West Africa, long before the Gentiles and the Persian, better known as Eje Eleton Ẹ̀dá Ènìyàn and àwọn onípè asán, meaning the deceiver of the earth and the problem giver of the earth, how they actually came into West Africa to change every narrative and stole their identity from their background. Like in the book known as the modern part of a universal history of the earliest time, in volume 9, that was published in the year 1755 by Katrina Ware and Giles Luth and so many. It stated that these people generally, they are the ones who came to impersonate this Jew or the Hebrew people collectively in West Africa, even though the Bible also addresses them as the synagogue of Satan. So the Satan, it's all reference to the same group of people who took the Yoruba people out of history. So these are two alien group from the outside Africa that started to unsettle the Yoruba ethnic migrant at home and abroad, and many of them had to begin to revert back in migration. I mean the Yoruba people into Ile Ife and Oyo, earlier known as Ewe or Hebrew Kingdom, signifies in West Africa. So let's talk about how Judah's kingdom was set up in the ancient time. And let's go into how the book, like in one of the political books I came across, in West African villages inhabited by the tribe known as Judah. And this book was actually written by a man known as John Jane Babot in the years 1655 to 1713, around the 15th century, that they describe the Yoruba people. This book basically referring to the Yoruba people of West Africa as the Lower Ethiopian. Like I said in my previous video, Yorubas are the Ethiopians. The Ethiopians are also the Negroes. The Negroes are also the Judah. It depends on, because most names affiliated with them through different approach. When you are talking about Ethiopian, you are identifying with the weather affiliation. When you are talking about the Negro, you are identifying them with their glory as people and land. When you are talking about, so the Yoruba people have different names from different approach, and they are truly the original Ethiopian, which the earlier Greek philosopher highly praises, and why the Atlantic Ocean in West Africa, as we know it today as Atlantic Ocean, was also earlier known as the Ethiopian River. The title of this book is Collection of Voyages and Travels, Volume 6, in page 475, which in summary stated that the Judah's entire kingdom has about 115 towns, which are better known as cities. And these cities are very ancient. Let me say it again. Those that always say the Yoruba history or civilization started about a couple of years ago, these are white fabrication lies. The real history of the Yoruba people, even in regards to this book that was published about 16th century, is saying that the ancient Yoruba land, which is better known as Judah Kingdom, across West Africa, they've already had about 15 towns, better known as city, not villages or rural. In ancient town, they were ancient city, thousands of years old, and their location to each other were almost about 100 miles away. 100. So it's not a cluster, it's not a small region where they just jam pack some group of people. 100 miles apart. He also further stated that the inhabitants were referred to as Judah, and they are people of collective ethnic group. Like I said, the Benin, the Shekeri, the TV, the Levi, so they were collective ethnic groups. And these people, that they were very few laborers who aren't well to do. The laborers mean slave, people who are poor. They are very few. Like he said in one of the books, that there is no, when the European force came to Africa, they found out that the Yoruba people doesn't even have a prison, because everyone was very rich and okay. Let's further go on. Even another book that can be referred to is the book of Gelele, King of Dahomey, which was published also in 1864, 200 years I think later, by Richard F. Burton, which in page 286 that stated the history, that also agreed that the Judah's kingdom was indeed truly has about 215 distinct and unique town cities, and also had many villages, Igberiko in Yoruba, that also depended on them. So this book is basically differentiated that there are major standard 115 cities, towns, and also villages. So you don't mistake villages for city. They are different locations. But for an ancient town in ancient days to have 115 cities or towns, you should know that these people are extremely civilized. And the book further referred to as this Judah was identified as the Nago, which is Anago or Mologo. And they also identified the chiefs as the Chaldee, just like the Bible also identified Abraham as the Chaldean. Ọmọ aláṣà tí ó ní èdè, and is someone from an upright culture, a divine culture, which basically means these people are part of the Omo logo, like I said. And also that this Judah or the Yoruba kingdom was indeed a paradise, a reference to Dahomey's side, which is Abrahamically Firdaus. If you are a Muslim or if you are not, just go to the Google, just type what they identify as Paradise of Firdaus, Al-Jannah of Firdaus is the greatest. So this book that was published in 1864 was basically saying 1,000-year-old city of Yoruba land, especially from the Dahomey region to Ile Ife, was known as paradise and can be referred to a Firdaus, an excellent line. So it's beyond just a medieval civilization. It was actually a paradise on there. And this is some of the facts to actually prove that Yoruba people are not a newcomer in this block, which people don't want to agree with. I'm not the one who write all these things. So come to think of it, why do you think the Torah called Ile Ife a great city, where a character man based known as Jonah was Olujise Ojuono was actually sent there? The Torah called Ile Ife, for those who don't know, Ile Ife was derived from Ile Ife. That Ile Ife encompasses colony of Eko, Ile Agbalubemi Eko, and the Bible does it that he has a river, a prophecy about the river or an ocean. Eko is Lagos State is surrounded by ocean, and they call it Eko site, and the hometown of Nahum, another character-based figure, which is globally agreed to be the region of the Judah. So the whole thing is revolving about Judah. As a matter of fact, Nive is Ile Ife, Judah's empire across West Africa from today's southern part of Nigeria. Judah Kingdom is in reference to the southern region of Nigeria and its focus region, which extended to today's part of West Africa beyond. Eko or Ile Eko, which is now of today's Lagos, is also a significant place that has always been a prominent place of, even though the place was like a, how would I call it, wasn't really developed like that, because Oyo was actually the greatest then, but it was still regarded as part of the Ife kingdom. Likewise, why the river Ephraim across Judah Kingdom is equally known as the origin of world civilization, based on what they teaches and ancientism, or where the whole, these are something you just need to look into. In generality, when we are talking about the Judah's kingdom, we are talking about different places across Yoruba land, which people don't pay attention to, or which people always look like a new race on the kid. But Yoruba history is far beyond those places. The ancientism and the beauty of this Yoruba land prior before the European came resulted to why the place is also referred to as the promised land, because of the journey of the Israelites that came. If you check out the two major prominent movements from West and North Africa, they are all heading to Yoruba land, because West Africa is a promised land, is the God-given land. This is a land whereby they have a stable weather in terms of adequate rainfall, adequate sunshine. They are not too black, they are not too light. They have everything in their disposal. Like in the rest of Africa, it's either it will be too hot or it will be too raining to a forest, or they always, but West Africa. So these are the attributes of what we know as promised land. And it has always been an Eldorado for thousands of years, which were run by the same people known as Judah, Eje Odua, under Odudua. Like I said again, Odudua is not the founder of the Yoruba people. Odudua also have about 95 ancestors to 97 that are earlier ruled. So Ile Ife has always been the ancient origin of the Yoruba people. So any tribe who is saying the Yoruba people history starts with Odudua, they need to do more research. They need to go and be sure of what they are saying. Odudua is a kid, but like we know, Odudua is the most decorated. It is because of Odudua that we, the Yoruba people, are now being able to relate with the Benin through Oromia. It's because of Odudua. This his son, one of the grandson, married the likes of the Nupe, which are from his cousin. So it's a very deep story. This is where we shall be coming to, and this is what we know about Judah. Anything else outside Yoruba land, in regards to the Judah origin, the Judea people, they are European false tales. This is why the ancient Judah ports, where all the enslaved victims of the Oyashela were taken from, is in West Africa. And when the Almighty wants to gather all of them back from America, from Europe, those who have been slave victims from West Africa, for now, the way the world is, you have to come back to West Africa. This is where the Almighty said He will regroup you. That is what I can say. I will see you in my next video. Thank you, everyone. Make your comment down below respectively. Please, no foul words. You might not agree with my claims, but make your your facts known respectively. I will see you in my next video. Thank you and bye for now. And again, please remember to turn up the notification bell. I see that many people subscribe, but my notification get to them very late. Remember to turn up the notification bell so that each time I drop a new video, you can always get alerted. Please help me. Let's grow this channel together. And I will see you share it as well. Bye for now.